thank you all so much for joining us today. We're very pleased to have an excellent panel of guests with us today. And the reason why we decided to do this event in this manner is because there's so much excellent resources that are in the Parkinson's disease community here in Virginia, but also available to anyone from anywhere now that we use a lot of virtual offerings. So we thought it was great to have these excellent, I call them experts and leaders in our community, to have them kind of come together and answer some questions that I've generated, but most importantly, answer questions from you, the people in our community. So if you have a question for the panel, please feel free to put it in the chat. The chat is now under the 3 dots. So if you click that and click chat, you can send it to everyone. We've got Nancy and Carl monitoring the chat. Or at certain points, I'll look to see if there's a raised hand. If typing isn't very easy for you, we do want to accommodate voice questions as well. But first things first, I'm going to go around the block and have everybody introduce themselves and their organization as well. So Susan, you're on the hot seat first.
Okay, that sounds good. So I'm Susan Dietrich. I work at the University of Virginia in the neurology department. I, for many years, was the American Parkinson Disease Association, APDA, Information and Referral Center Coordinator for the state. So that means that I still have my hands in a whole lot of pies, although I've pretty much turned a lot of things with the APDA over to Naomi, who's coming up later, and Catherine, who are with the Virginia chapter of the APDA. I really am officially retired, but I really couldn't leave the community because I enjoy it so much. And so most of you, many of you probably get a plethora of emails from me, because if I think there's something you need to know, I will send it out to you, and then you can figure it out for yourself. I also, in case Naomi doesn't mention this, and this doesn't have to do with resources exactly, but I do want you to know that the headquarters for the APDA Virginia chapter is in Virginia Beach, but because we are all pretty much virtual now, they are really hoping to expand their board membership to cover more people in the state. So I'm saying this here so that if you know someone, Roanoke, Winchester, or anywhere that might be willing to be a participant in their on the board, you could contact Naomi, contact me, and I can certainly put you in touch with them. But anyway, that's me. That's my story. And so I have a lot of resources, and I'll be glad to share whatever I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. Well, I'm going to go ahead and ask Naomi to go ahead and go next. So Naomi, will you go ahead?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Susan, for that nice little mini introduction. My name is Naomi McLeod, and I am the Programs Director at APDA Virginia. I have been working at APDA for over a year now, so we've expanded a lot, and sometimes I meet people and they haven't heard of APDA because we were on a much smaller scale. So I'm very excited to be here today to talk about the programs and resources that we offer, and I'm happy to help. So thank you for inviting us to be here today, and I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you.
Thank you so much, Naomi. Margaret, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Angela and Carl, thank you so much for having us. It's so great to be a part of this panel, and it's nice to have such familiar faces across the state. So I am Margaret Preston, president of Power Over Parkinson's. We started 5 years ago as a result of my father's diagnosis with Parkinson's disease right here in Richmond, Virginia. We tried to fill a gap, including resources for education, exercise, wellness, and really create the community right here in Central Virginia, particularly in the Richmond area. So right now we offer programs in those domains. We've got exercise classes, lots of education classes on our own independently and in conjunction with our partnership with VCU Health. We do a lot of wellness events. We're actually going bowling in about an hour. So we've got our PAL event coming up, which is our Parkinson's Activity League. We kind of call it our support group on steroids. So we're going to do something fun. We're axe throwing, we're going bowling, we're going to play shuffleboard, something fun with people with Parkinson's and their care partners. And, just kind of creating that community, which is really the crux of our mission at Power Over Parkinson. So we are happy to help and serve the community. And it's been a pleasure the last 5 years.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Ginger, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Ginger Norris, and I'm with the VCU Health Parkinson Center. And I actually came to the center because I also have a personal connection with Parkinson's. My mom had Parkinson's, and so I called up the Parkinson Center and told them they should hire me, and they actually did. So I've been here about 12 years now, and we try to be all things to all people, and we sort of meet that on most things, but we're a Parkinson's Foundation Center of Excellence. So we try really hard to make sure that we offer patient education events. And so we try to do at least one every year. We try to partner with other people on those events. And we really want to be a resource for people across the state. So keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Ginger. Jessica, last but certainly not least.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Kaplan. I'm a nurse coordinator at the Richmond VA in the PADRECC there. And if you don't know what PADRECC means, it stands for Parkinson's Disease Research, Education, and Clinical Center. It is a center of excellence within the VA for Parkinson's and movement disorders, and we have been working there for over 20 years. So we have patients all along the Southeast, and we love our veterans. So if you ever have a veteran out there with Parkinson's or a movement disorder, send them my way.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you.
Thank you all for taking time out to speak with us today. So I'm gonna start with a kind of a basic question, which not knowing all the folks who are attending today, if somebody got in touch with your organization who was newly diagnosed, what would be one of the first things that you would say or offer to them? So I'm going to toss that out. Who would like to take that one as a starting point to talk for the conversation?
I'll take it.
Okay, go Ginger.
And so I would spend a little bit of time talking to them about what their immediate desires are, because we can offer lots of different things. We can offer appointments with our doctors or with our physical therapist, speech therapist. We can also hook them up with support groups or other activities that they might like to do by connecting them to POP. We also have a lot of research. And so a lot of people contact me personally for research because I'm the research coordinator as well. We also have a multidisciplinary clinic. So I like to start the conversation with where are they in their journey and what they're really seeking, and not because nobody calls you just to say, hey, what can you give me? They call with a specific question. And so I try not to assume what their question is, but try to listen to them as to what they need and help them connect with that.
That sounds perfect, Ginger. Yeah, I concur with that. A lot of times it's an issue, there's something that's come up or they're looking for additional resources in order to for their journey. Margaret, did you want to go ahead next?
Yeah, I think we tend to tell people, we ask them immediately who they're seeing in the area, and we try, and I know sometimes in the rural parts of the state, but we do try to advise folks to get connected with a movement disorder specialist. I think that's certainly an important facet to your care team. With the additional and more extensive training in Parkinson's disease, I think, patients can get a lot more precise care regarding the disease. My father did not start with one and then moved to a movement disorder specialist, and it made all the care in the world, or made all the difference in the world regarding his care. So that's kind of our numero uno piece of advice as we kind of talk, who are you seeing? Let's talk about your options in that realm.
Thank you. Susan, would you like to share your answer of how you support someone who's newly diagnosed?
Well, I think that it's been my experience that a lot of times people who are newly diagnosed who have reached out, they're still struggling with their diagnosis. I try not to overwhelm them with information, but I do try to let them know, first of all, because of my location and the fact that I often hear from people around the state, try to find out geographically where they're located and then link them up with people in their particular area, if there is someone in their particular area. And I like Ginger, I just kind of talk with them a little bit and find out if they are seeing a movement disorder specialist, encourage them to do that. And I offer to send some very general literature, something that's going to inform them, but not overwhelm them. That's kind of the way that I approach it. So, and then of course, if they're willing, I like to put them on my email list, which, you know, grows by the day. So there you go.
Oh no, that email list. I agree though. I try to get their email. I encourage them to stay informed, but I totally agree with the overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming upon initial diagnosis. And I would just add that, you know, find out your contact people, whether it's the nurse in the clinic or, you know, a good physical therapist, or, you know, somebody, get your people that you can talk to, and build your team for sure.
Naomi, would you like to add to what's been said so far from your perspective?
Yes, I would say I would agree. I would agree with all the previous answers prior. I think it's important to be a listening ear, because sometimes when they do call us, they are very overwhelmed. Considering now that we are a statewide chapter, we try to connect those geographically, as Ginger said and Susan said, you know, if they're in Richmond with POP. So just providing resources based off their location, whether it's support groups, whether it's exercise programs, and just being able to follow up, adding them to our newsletter and whatnot. We try to have that personal touch, so that when people do call APDA, they're either calling myself or my colleague, Catherine. So trying to keep that personal touch, trying to be an open and listening ear, and providing resources, but also, like I said, or as Susan said, they may not be ready for a support group yet. So I'm just kind of keeping that open line of communication available to them.
And I want to add something, and that is that generally I like to tell people that exercise is medicine. That's one thing. There's so many things you can't do, you have no control over when you have Parkinson's, but exercise is one thing you can do for yourself. And I always try to say exercise is medicine. So in that light, I try to make sure they know about exercise things in their area.
Well, and Susan, I think that brings up an excellent next question, which is, you know, and you all kind of spoke to it a little bit, which is the fact that resources are spread throughout the state. Some of them are centralized in particular areas. Obviously, the metro areas have more resources than the non-metro areas, and the rural resources might be more spread out. So what do you particularly do in your part of the community to find those resources and access those resources? So do you have any clues and hints for our community members how to find those particular resources, if they live in a rural area?
I'm just going to go first again, since I can't keep quiet, but I try to let people know about websites, because most of the organizations now do have some sort of exercise venue, if you will. So I try to, if people are computer savvy at all, I try to link them to whether it's APDA or POP or whatever, that can then tell them about their own local resources for exercise. And there are a number of virtual things that I can share with them as well, link-wise. Since we're not geographically limited now, if you live in Virginia Beach and want to do the James Madison University dance program, you have that option. So I try to, I think the best, if I don't know of a particular thing in their area, like POP or VCU or down in Virginia Beach, I try to give them websites that will allow them to explore exercise programs at their convenience.
Well, and Susan, before we started, we were talking about national resources as well.
Yes, there are. One of the things that I have shared with my email list are things, because we're not geographically limited anymore. I've shared things even from California, from Los Angeles and San Diego, the Northwest Parkinson Foundation, because it's interesting. People have different programs. Some of them are going to appeal to some people, and as long as you check out the right time zone, you can participate in things almost anywhere, really. Interestingly, we have a lady in Charlottesville who is crazy about the some exercise program in the Northwest Parkinson Foundation. She's always promoting that at our support groups and so forth. But you know, we're not geographically limited anymore. If you know how to do Zoom, you can register and exercise with your cousin in Iowa or something like that. So.
Would somebody like to, who would like to add an additional comment about that?
I would, if I can add, I would like to say that also, so APDA is a national organization. So we are a chapter, we're called the Virginia chapter. And APDA, if you look on our website for our virtual events, we have a series of exercise programs as well as wellness programs. So I would say to take advantage of those opportunities. It does not matter where you live, just sign up for it. We offer occupational therapy classes now, or webinars that we do, also wellness extra classes too. So take advantage of looking at our website to see what virtual events, it may not be our chapter, but there are several other chapters throughout the US who are doing constant programs and whatnot.
APDA, by the way, has a wonderful website, and it's apdaparkinson.org, and I would strongly encourage anyone to take a look at that. They have a vast number of resources. Other groups do too, but I just happen to be familiar with the APDA website.
We have a question in the chat. I'm not sure who would like to address it. There are frequently exercise groups that meet at YMCAs. How do you get one started in your area? We're in the Mechanicsville area, and everything seems to be on the west side of Richmond, and transportation is an issue.
Yeah, I actually responded.
Yes, you did.
I believe one of the YMCA's in the Mechanicsville area used to have one. I know that COVID kind of put a damper on some of them. I would maybe reach out to the one that's nearest you and ask them if they're planning on reviving that. I know they just did one out was it the Swift Creek Y just restarted one recently.
Right, that's the other part of town.
Right,
Yeah,
right. But they have to have so many people to do them.
Well, that's what I guess my question is like, how do you know who's out there that's also in the area that's looking, you know, to have critical mass of people to say, hey, we'll all come.
And it's the John Rolfe Y that is the main center for totally, but that's the main one. So I would reach out to them and say, we would really like to come, but it's too far. Is there any, you know, maybe they would be a good starting off point.
Or at the very least, they'll know who else has asked the same question.
Yeah. And the YMCA is wonderful. I'm like good buddies with them. So they're always super helpful to our community. So.
And I will add that just reaching out to whatever local Y you have is great, because I've recently learned that the Goochland YMCA, unbeknownst to me, has a Parkinson's exercise program. Oh. And I think they only have, at this point, I mean, it's growing, but they only have like 3 people there, you know, who participate. So I would say reach out to them and tell them you want to start one, and maybe you could get a couple of buddies to go and you know, I think they're very receptive.
I know. I always end up, I have to be the one to start it and run it and manage it. And I work full time. I can't do it.
The people at the YMCA who do the one in John Rolfe.
That'd be awesome.
I could, yeah, totally.
Done. And also, Power Over Parkinson's. Now, Margaret, I'm just going to step out there and stretch this a little bit, but I know you're affiliated or partnered with the Gold's Gym.
Right? Yeah, I know, Christine, it sounds like Mechanicsville, you're probably 20-30 minutes maybe away from Gold's Gym, if you've ever looked at where we operate out of.
Yeah, I just know the Y is like literally within viewing of my house.
Yeah,
So I was like, I'm going to start there and go over
absolutely.
there.
We are on, you know, not to get too specific, we're on West Broad Street,
Yeah.
probably like 15 minutes from downtown. So feel free to peruse our website and get that address. If nothing kind of comes out of the YMCA, we're happy to serve you. I know it is a longer drive than something that's really in your backyard, but and we can also be the ears as well as far as other people in Mechanicsville looking for an opportunity at the Y and kind of band the masses together as well for you. But we're happy to serve you if it's not terribly far from where you are in Mechanicsville.
Yeah, I just figured that it was kind of an eastern, like between Virginia Beach and Hanover, you know, there's probably some folks who were.
It's
looking for
definitely a
resources.
deficit for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that brings up an excellent point, Christine, and probably a line of questioning to go on, which is, you know, advocating for yourselves and what you're looking for is extremely important. And, you know, I think I'm going to jump in and give an opinion, and then the panel can answer. But I think sometimes just advocating for what you're looking for might be an opportunity for and talking to when you go to your appointment or when you go to some of these events to mention that you're looking for something that might be a little closer to home or possibly network with someone. So do any of our panelists have a comment about that? Oh, Christine, I'm sorry, you're still muted, dear.
No, I'm talking to my family. Who
Oh,
poke their head in the door to ask a question. So we're good.
But I'm guessing, you know, do you all the panelists, do you accumulate that information, or do you have a kind of a feedback that kind of sparks you into maybe doing that kind of connection? I heard Jessica mention that.
Sorry, I'm like trying to say it fair. What was the question?
Just in your role at the PADRECC, you know, do you find yourself sometimes hearing a lot from the community about, I'm looking for a particular resource in this area, and then that kind of cues you into other folks that you've met, you know, kind of being that connective network? I see that from my perspective when I talk to you all.
And our patients are so spread out that, you know, sometimes I look at their address and I'm like, you're really lucky. You live in this great area. You have all these resources. And then I see some people and I'm like, oh, there's not a lot out there. But I really think that we have done a good job at providing virtual. We do virtual physical therapy, occupational therapy, and they're starting groups now. So, you know, I think getting for the rural people that can't get the big groups together, I think virtual is a really great option. And I think that's something that, you know, we can explore more. But I think that's something that is a really good front. Our physical therapist, I think she kind of blows people's minds because she does these, you know, these whole sessions with her patients. And it makes people nervous, I think, but it's actually really amazing because, you know, they're in the chair that they have to get out of every day. You know, they're not in some weird place that's, you know, they're actually in their home. This is their bed. They're getting out of their bed. They're getting into this chair, you know. So it's very valuable to actually have it in the home. You know, if the dog is always running under your feet, the dog is running under your feet in the physical therapy. And so she can kind of see that whole picture. But I do think Jessica is a great idea.
Is that something that would be open, available to people who are non-veterans who are not part of your clinic? Are they virtual?
It would have to be a physical therapist that does virtual visits. I don't know. We do them all the time. Everybody does virtual visits, all of our team, but it would have to be something that you ask. But, you know, I give a lot of talks on building your care team. And people are like, well, I don't have that at my office. And I'm like, well, you need to ask for that. You know, these are things that should be provided, you know. So you do have to advocate a little bit, but I know that there are more and more virtual providers out there.
Well, I want to add too, as far as exercise goes, I think that's kind of where this all started. And that is, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Parkinson's exercise group, for example. I mean, out in Louisa County, it's pretty rural. It's not that far from Charlottesville or Richmond, but it feels like it to people. And just for an example, our library has like seated yoga and stuff like that. So there are options, maybe if you take Parkinson's out of it and just maybe use senior exercise or something like that. So that's just another thing to explore. Yeah.
I agree with you, Susan. Also, I know the AARP has started to do some virtual exercise offerings as well. Although I don't, well, I guess I just realized I qualify.
They keep lowering the age. It's okay. It's okay.
But I get their emails and yeah, I think looking for those additional offerings in person is great. But yeah, if you're in that particular rural area and can't get to those items, or if just it takes so much effort for you to get outside of the house to even make it to an in-person event or in-person class, that's an excellent resource to have, especially for care partners. If you're looking for something that it may be difficult for you to try to get your loved one out of the house and get them ready to go to a class, you're at least spending your energy doing the exercise versus the effort it takes to get to the particular event.
Well, I just want to add one more thing too, and that is there are a couple of options. Number one, people say, well, I like to have people around me. Well, if you happen to have a friend, a buddy, a neighbor who is in the same position as you, maybe they could come to your house or you could go to their house and do the virtual thing together. Or they have DVD exercise. I won't use DVDs anymore. I do, because I haven't graduated beyond that, but there are DVDs that you can put in, and it's the same thing. You could have a buddy come over and you could exercise together. So anyway, just thinking outside the box.
Good point, Susan. And also YouTube. I know some of the workouts, for instance, like POP, you all recorded some of your online exercise programs with I forgot the gentleman's name. It just went boop,
The
right
renowned JoJo McDuffie.
Yes,
we have,
he's wonderful.
I don't know, maybe 30 to 40 Rock City Boxing 1 hour sessions that people can go through during COVID. We record every one of them every Saturday during that wonky year. So we have a plethora of resources in addition to some specialized videos as well as on our YouTube channel. And you always feel a little funny, I have to point it out, to send people to YouTube, but it's normalizing and it's okay. And there's great content on there. So I encourage people to check it out and not be so scared and kind of peel away a little bit of the stigma that YouTube can bring.
Absolutely, Margaret. And bad weather might be coming too. It's another opportunity to
Right.
get resources. So because you can't take a day off, is that correct,
Right.
Mr. Rob? Do you want to comment?
No, I don't. I do have a question in the chat.
Well, go ahead. You read your question.
As a person with Parkinson's disease for over 40 years, if I were newly diagnosed and looking for resources, I would want to talk to another person with PD who might give me a perspective from the patients. Is that something any of you provide?
If I can jump in on that one, we have a buddy system, and it was a lot of the things we do are products of COVID, because we started and like a year later COVID came. So but it is a product of COVID, but we love it. We do have a buddy system of advocate program. So on our website, you can look under our services and resources page and see that we have a one-to-one buddy system. We have 4 fantastic gentlemen who have just volunteered their time. They've had the disease for certain periods of time, help just wanting to kind of provide that community one-on-one support. And I think there's a lot of value in just saying, this is what's worked for me, or point people in the right direction, or just saying like, I know this stinks. So we do have several gentlemen who have volunteered their time for our buddy system, if you will, here in Richmond.
Ginger, I would presume that you probably partner with POP a lot because they're right there and local and using their buddy system and stuff.
We're very fortunate to be able to partner with POP, but we also do have our doctors who know their own patients. And so often if a patient comes in who fits a certain demographic and is wanting to connect with somebody similarly, we can usually try to find somebody that is willing to talk to them. Most of our patients who've been coming for a while are very open, and they're usually very willing to share their knowledge with newly diagnosed people.
And also, Naomi, I think that APDA has something called Smart Patients, where you can connect with, I think it may be on their website, but it's called Smart Patients, and you can connect with people. Might not even be locally, but I think that you can maybe put a profile, I'll say, in there and connect with people elsewhere. So it's the same kind of thing.
I'm not quite sure if we still have that. I can check and see.
I hope so. I'm advertising it all the time.
Let me do some
Okay.
background, and I'll confirm before this meeting is over.
I'm always a step behind, I'll tell you.
But we do have, we are able to, we do have some key, prior board members who have had Parkinson's for a number of years. And we're happy to connect anyone, looking for a one-on-one or conversation. We're still happy to provide that touch as well. If anyone's looking for to speak with someone, we do have that availability too.
Can I ask a question? I think as a caregiver, my husband was diagnosed in 2008, so we've been doing this for a while. And there's so many different groups, and it's so easy to get them confused. Like early on, we went on a retreat at Smith Mountain Lake that was fabulous, but I have no idea which group sponsored that and what happened to the group. And, they may still exist, but I'm not connected with them. And it feels very scattered. Like there's not a central place to, like, I get lots of newsletters, but it's just the names are all very similar, so we get confused.
Not an uncommon comment.
Let me add to that. Quick
Go ahead, Carl.
question. I'll crystallize it. Maybe I'll put this. Why are there so many organizations? And why isn't there one central? Why can't we all work together as one organization?
I think that's a great point. And that's one of the reasons why, when we were talking about doing this program, that's why we wanted multiple people, because of the fact that, it's a geographic issue for the most part. I think you're going to have to think about it that way. But then also too, as Margaret stated in her opening, which you're welcome to build on this, Margaret, that there were gaps and somebody needed to kind of help fill in the gaps. So, Margaret, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of the smaller organizations in the state as well as the country have probably pretty similar stories to POP. I think, organizations pop up to really fill a gap that isn't already there. And it does clog the system to an extent because it makes a myriad of choices for people with Parkinson's. But I guess the opposite, I think you'd rather have the choices than the opposite and not having the resources and choices. And I like to tell people, if the POP programming isn't right, then maybe you go to the Rock Steady Boxing in Richmond or the YMCA. I think having choice is right, because we know no two people are alike with Parkinson's. And we also know we all don't want to exercise or have a community in the exact same way. So while you do get emails from POP and Susan and the APDA, while there is a lot of emails, I'm a little glass half full type person. You'd rather have the content than not the content and not the resources. And just try something. Maybe you read a couple of the emails and click on something. Sorry, the kids wanted a puppy and the puppy's on a squeaky toy right now. So the puppy's at my feet.
We can't hear, Margaret.
It's puppies, right? But
Right.
it always ends up as the parent's puppy. But I try to tell people, just take a try at something. Ultimately, what's the risk if you don't like it? Try something else within another newsletter or the same organization, but a different program. A lot of these things are risk-free as far as just being free services to people with Parkinson. So I try to tell people, just try it. It can only go one or two ways, but it's just a matter of trying it.
I think the other thing is that although it can be overwhelming, having more options is superior to having nothing. And I know, as I mentioned before, we get calls from people who are trying to sort of streamline options, which I think we're all happy to do. It's so much better than somebody has a need and we can't figure out how to fill it. PSN was also founded partly as a way to fill gaps that had been brought to our attention a few years ago when we were becoming official. So I think it's far superior to have more options than fewer options.
And I think if I can add one more thing, Angela, I think the beauty of it is that we're generally all, with maybe a few entities not on the call, but generally we're all on the call. And I think that's the beauty of it, that we all know each other. We're all speaking to one another. Naomi, we've been talking about a care partner support group coming up in January. So, and of course we partner with VCU and we've done things with Jessica. So I think the fact that we all know each other and are trying to connect with one another to bring partnered programming and be more comprehensive, I think that's the beauty of it. None of us are strangers, which I think is a good thing. We're talking and listening and kind of adapting in ways we can and partnering in ways we can.
I think
Agree with you, Margaret. Yeah.
That's totally refreshing because
And there's still room to go. There's still a lot of deficits. So, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. We still have a lot of work to do.
We do. I agree with you, Jessica. And I have to say, that's one of many years ago. I won't even say how long it's been that we've known Susan. And as soon as we met Susan, even though Carl wasn't going to UVA, it was a connection out to another part of the state. And when we got involved with some of the volunteer stuff that we started way back, I don't even want to say how long, over 20 years.
I was in my 30s.
Yeah, exactly. that was the beauty of it, is that, it was like, hey, I know somebody who's in that particular part of the state. Or even when the center started at VCU, we early on knew Andrea Persigan, who was back then in charge of resources down there. And it was amazing. It really was. And then, then we met Margaret, and then we knew the folks at the PADRECC, the connection. And I think in some ways, the fact that APDA Virginia is kind of centralized now. At one point it was Richmond and then the Virginia Beach part, and it was all kind of, and then Susan was in, that centralization. I think we'll never get to one organization that serves the whole state, but that might be a good thing, because then it does have all the different perspectives and all the different coverages, like Margaret said, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, and I didn't want it to seem like I was being ungrateful, making me work at this, but this is really, like Carl said, this is refreshing, because most organizations do a lot of gatekeeping and siloing. And so this is kind of what I was talking about, is like how we kind of need to know all the players and what they kind of cover. It's great.
And sometimes, a patient you'll kind of get a vibe and you'll be like, you know what, I think you'd be really good for pop, or I think you'd be really good at rock steady. And you kind of, it's just about finding your people, and I don't know, until everybody can find their people, we got to just keep working.
We're pretty close to Washington. I worked at Sally Mae for a little while, and the theory there was, whatever was on your desk, you didn't share with the other members of the office, because what's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine. And without sharing information, it's not as healthy as in this industry, sharing information. So this is good stuff.
So I have a question for Jessica, actually, and this may be something other people would want to know, and that is, I had a gentleman come to the Louisa. We have a new Louisa support group. We've resurrected it since COVID, but anyway, he is a veteran. not a Vietnam veteran, he, nothing like that, but he has Parkinson's and he didn't know about the PADRECC. And so I mentioned to him and he said, well, I wasn't in Vietnam or anything. And I said, well, I think if you're a veteran, you could still avail yourself of the PADRECC services. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think in order, you have to be registered for care through the VA system.
Okay, that's the first step, right?
Yes,
Make
you
sure
have
you're
to be
registered for
within
care.
in the VA system. Mhm.
Okay.
And then you would ask your primary care doctor for a consult to the PADRECC.
Okay.
And if you're outside of the area, it would be an interfacility consult. But
Okay.
and I always tell people just to reach out to us if you email me if you're having issues, and we'll help you. There's a hotline on the website as well.
So I know that another gentleman in that group gets his care from the VA through the telemedicine, through the clinic in Charlottesville. They have a telemedicine thing. I presumed that maybe they would have to have at least one in-person visit, and then they could maybe graduate to a.
We have people we've
virtual.
never seen in person.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, it's really great. Neurology, you can pretty much, do everything on the screen.
Okay, well, good.
The only thing we can't check is rigidity, but
but
that's
thank you. I will tell him to make sure he's registered for care just in general with the VA, and then go through his PCP for a what did you call it? A referral?
Referral to the
consult
movement
referral.
disorder. As long as it gets to neurology, I think it'll come to us.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, and Jessica, that covers like the satellites too. Like I know we have friends that live in Winchester, so the same thing, right? If they go to like the Charlestown Clinic in West Virginia, they can do the same thing, the inner chairing, right?
And we have patients in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, West Virginia, Michigan, everywhere.
Wow. That use your clinic, that use the Southeast PADRECC?
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep. And we do all virtual. You can do virtual PT, OT, speech, everything.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
I'm going to switch gears for a second and talk about care partners, because it is National Family Care Partners Month, or Caregivers Month. I say care partners, they should change it.
Yeah.
But maybe each of you can speak a little bit about the offerings or the support your particular organization provides for care partners, caregivers. So I'm going to toss it out. Let's see. Actually, Naomi, I'm going to throw it to you first. How about that? Can you go ahead and tell us?
So in terms of our care partners are always welcome to attend any of our programs that we offer. We have a Cooking Through Art program that we do where simply just kind of like a paint and sip, where you're able to come, socialize, and paint and meet other care partners and those with Parkinson's in the community. We're able to connect care partners to support groups, or care partner support groups throughout the state. And we want to make sure that they're utilizing those resources. As Margaret said earlier, we're working together to start a care partner support group in Richmond. So we're very excited about that. And we also have webinars that we tend to focus on care partner support too, that are not just for Virginia, but just throughout all of our chapters throughout the United States. So we try to kind of encompass, education for those with Parkinson's and services and programs, but also those who are care partners as well. So I would say a great way of knowing what we have going on is looking at our website or our newsletter. But we try to, include care partners, as we know that they're very important on this journey as well, to include them as too. So
thanks so much, Naomi. Margaret?
I was going to say my answer mirrors Naomi's 100%. So all of our programming is open to our care partners and loved ones throughout our exercise programming, our PAL, educational events. So we always are inclusive of those very important folks. And then I think we put the little tickler out there, Naomi, for our pending support group in January for care partners here in Richmond. So more to come on that, but we certainly are inclusive of care partners within our exercise program, having them work out alongside their loved one. Also, our care partners have access to the entire Gold's Gym while their loved ones are working out. So if you do want to drop off your loved one and take an hour, that's a part of our relationship with Gold's Gym, that the care partners do have access to the gym, because it might be rewarding to work out alongside of your loved one, but it also might be lovely to have like an hour and just get on the treadmill or do whatever you like to do at the gym, or go run errands. So we try to embrace them as, you know, they want to be embraced in terms of what works for them within the programming.
Great. That's awesome.
I'd
Yes,
like to-
go ahead. Carl.
Just go. No,
I go to Jess because I saw that she's doing like I saw the bird feeders come through on the newsletter.
Yeah, so the bird feeder was caregivers are allowed, but it was just trying to get people together, not necessarily educational or exercise, you know, just low stress, like a crafting and games and stuff. So that's something that we've just started.
We have a virtual care partner group, right?
Yeah, we have a virtual care partner group. We're having a retreat coming up next month. It'll be like a brunch with a lot of different things, like some self-care things and some education pieces. We're having the whole team kind of come together for that. And we will have a virtual component. I think the VA does a good job for care partners. We have several different care partner programs. They have financial assistance, travel assistance. There's a lot of different things for the veterans and the caregivers of veterans. I would say if you're a veteran, finding your social worker if you don't see us, and just kind of reaching out, because it varies per VA. But I do think we do a good job at the VA trying to look out for the caregivers.
Great.
So I want.
Go ahead. No, I was tossing.
I insist, not you. No. I wanted to say that one of the things that I send out most of the time, since I'm not on grounds very often anymore. Sometimes things slip through the cracks, but there is it's kind of through the APDA and Naomi. It's Scott's Care Partner Group, which meets I think twice a month on Wednesdays, and I usually send out the link for that. I think it's Apex Health or Apex Physical Therapy or something. Anyway, he has a care partner, specifically a care partner group. And I do send out the link for that. And I just wanted to say that in Charlottesville, we're very fortunate that we have 2 care partner groups. Our support groups is open to anyone, family, friends, care partners, people with Parkinson's, that meets on the 3rd Friday of each month. But we have 2 on the 1st and 3rd Thursdays. We have a virtual care partner support group. And if anybody's interested in that, you can connect with me and I will have the facilitator send you the link. And the other one is that on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays, we actually have an in-person support group for care partners. That takes place at the center at Belvedere. And I think a little offshoot of that is that they tell me that now if your person with Parkinson's comes with you, that they have a little group. It's not really an official group, but they kind of meet down at the coffee shop and have a little social time down there while the other group is meeting. And also we have in Charlottesville, it's called Parkinson Activity and Resource Center. That's located at the Rock Steady Boxing facility. And they actually have, we have a lot of kind of segueing, but they host a lot of social activities as well as Rock Steady Boxing and support groups. And so they have not a care partner group necessarily, but they do have a support group. I think that's the 2nd Tuesday. I can't really remember exactly, but care partners are welcome to that too. So we do have, and I will say that all of these things in Charlottesville have been driven by the Parkinson's community. That's what they wanted, and they've set things up and done it themselves. So pretty robust and amazing, really.
That's great. Well, and I think that's you're hitting, Susan, again, another opportunity for advocacy. You know, if a care partner accompanies their loved one to a meeting or a doctor's appointment, to say, you know, that they're looking for something, whether it's a social group or specifically a support group, you know, I think that's an excellent opportunity to take advantage and advocate for yourself and what you're looking for. So, Carl, did you have a follow-up?
I have a question. As someone who's benefited a great deal from improv, I'm curious if any of the organizations have thought of implement that for either for Parkinson's patients and as well as care partners, doing a program of improv.
I think we should start it together. People in this room, let's do it.
Well, I'm talking about doing groups. It's beneficial for anybody,
I think Jess was asking for your volunteer time to start it, Carl.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I talked to Robert Cochran. Robert Cochran's the pro.
yeah,
I haven't gone through the training yet. He's considering it, but I think I've seen great benefits from it from myself and from other people who've gone through the program.
I'm all in.
If any of you have not been part of the group, he's open to people involved in Parkinson's to poke their head into a group and see what it's all about, because it's more than improv. It's really about, well, it's really about mental health.
Yeah. If somebody send me his email and I'm all in. Let's do it.
Right.
All right, Jess, we'll make sure you get his email address, and yeah, it might just be we need some folks to, you know, come and try it and then get some training, and then we could start it, and it could be all virtual. So
Yeah.
Yay, connection made. See,
I'd love to be a part of that.
It's cooperating.
It's a lot of fun, and it's very it really creates a very bonding group.
Mm-hmm.
People.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's one of those things, Carl, where if we put the word out across all the different networks, we might find a large group of people who are interested in doing that, and they don't have to travel. They can just hop on the Zoom and participate. Yep. Absolutely. I was go ahead.
In the chat.
Okay, you put it in the chat, please, because I'm trying to do all these things and recordings. But we'll also have a follow-up.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Jess. You're so sweet. Well, we'll have a follow-up. We'll do a follow-up email with all the different links. I know it's a lot to keep a hold of, and we had sent the links out when we initially did the email about the event, but we'll do it again just to make sure everybody has it, so it's kind of concise. I have a question to throw to Ginger, since she particularly, you know, is in the research arena. We haven't talked too much about research yet. So Ginger, if somebody is, you know, approaches your organization about getting involved with clinical trials and research, can you talk a little bit about how they can get started?
So they can get started by either calling me directly, emailing me, or reaching out just to our general center's contact information, so our general email box. And then we try really hard to have a study that's good for everybody. So you're not going to be a good fit for every single study we have, but hopefully we have a study that's a good fit for you and where you are in your journey. So we do have studies that involve taking experimental medications, but we also have studies that involve sleeping for us and letting us watch you sleep, which sounds a little creepy, but we all know the Parkinson's and sleep are linked together. But we have studies that meet you where you are in your journey, and not everybody is comfortable taking investigational medicine, and so we do try to have things that people can participate in that doesn't involve that, as well as the investigational products as well, because that just increases what we know about treating. We also try to have think of novel ways to come at treating Parkinson's disease. So it's not always about the pill. Sometimes it's an exercise class, or it's a device that provides vibration therapy. We once had a drumming class with these large Japanese taiko drums. And so we really try to do lots of different opportunities so that people can find what works for them and what they're comfortable doing. But you just have to reach out or be one of our patients, and then we pounce on you. So
Thank you, Ginger. That's excellent. And I'm going to put a little pause in here because Margaret needs to hop off. But Margaret, thank you so much for coming today and sharing Power Over Parkinson's information with us. And we'll make sure folks have a link to your website and information. We can't thank you enough for what you do for the community.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a treat to be on this call, and a bigger treat to serve the community. We're off to bowling, so I
Have a nice time. Yeah.
Yeah, I look
Hope it's
forward
the 300.
to connecting with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
I do want to jump back into the research part because I want to give all the organizations an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about research opportunities for people with Parkinson's and sometimes care partner family members. So did anybody else want to add?
I do. Of course, I always have something to say.
I know.
But I wanted to say that VCU has a very robust research program. And like you said, Ginger, you all do things that are not just interventional in that it's here, take this medication. So do you have on their website or something? How would they find out about that?
they actually have to reach out. Updating the website at VCU is a process that nobody really seems to understand.
Oh, that's like UVA. I completely understand that. Yeah.
And there's so many rules about how you can publicize your research. So
yes.
The Institutional Review Board does a great job at protecting people, but they also do a great job at throwing up roadblocks for us to reach out to people directly. So we just say, just contact us, and we're happy to tell you about what we have at the time. We do have a listserv that we send out emails to sometimes to recruit people. But again, the Institutional Review Board is really picky about what we can send to people. So I think it's just easier to reach out to us and reach out to either to me, and I can put my information in the chat, or to our center, and I'll put that information in the chat. And whoever gets that email will help guide it to the right person.
Excellent. Thank you, Ginger.
So I wanted to say another thing, and that is UVA also does some research where we went through a little slump, if you will. We didn't really have a research team, but we've built that back up now. So we have some things kind of in the pipeline. And again, echo what she said, you can't go to the website and find out a darn thing, but you could contact one of us and we could put you in touch with the right people. But I also wanted to say that you should have people go to the Michael J. Fox website, their clinical trials finder. And you can do all kinds of research. You can look for it on your own as to what you are interested in. You can also, from what I understand, and I tell people this, and I think it's right, I hope it's right, you can, on that website, you can put a profile for yourself in. This is what I'm interested in. This is how far I'm willing to travel, whatever they ask. And then, in theory, if something comes up in their global network, their network of what research is going on, they would then reach out to you and just say, hey, this trial's going on. So if you wanted to do something with vibration therapy or whatever, but definitely, if you're interested in clinical trials of any kind, it does not have to be medicine. Go to the Michael J. Fox website to their clinical trials. You can also go to the NIH clinicaltrials.gov, and then you'd find out about everything on every disease in the entire country. But you can limit it a little bit. But I always say the Michael J. Fox website's the most streamlined one to go to.
But it doesn't include everything.
So
yeah.
you're not, I think, now tell me, Ginger, is this correct? If you're doing a clinical trial, particularly an interventional one, I think you are obligated to go to the NIH website. Don't they have to?
Yeah, so clinicaltrials.gov
Mhm.
is the one where if you're doing a drug therapy, you have to put it on there. But most studies try to get their information on the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And I know when we're recruiting, we often try to get our stuff listed on that website as well. And it's pretty easy to do. But I don't think every drug company wants to go through the process of putting it out there. I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But they don't have everything.
Okay.
Facebook seems to have a lot of ads for Parkinson's studies. I've never clicked on one, so I don't know what they actually take you to.
I would be a little weary about that. Oh, I don't know.
But I do know that some of the drug companies use a third-party vendor type process to screen interested research participants. And in my experience, their screening process is really just checking to make sure you are alive and breathing. They don't really weed you out at all. So I get a lot of referrals from these third-party vendors that say this person might be a good fit for your study. And I call them up and they're like, oh no, I don't have Parkinson's. I just wanted to know what y'all were doing. Or I'm already taking a drug and I know it's disallowed, but I thought maybe I could try anyway. So I think those third-party vendors are legit. And their goal is to get you enrolled in a study because that's how they make their money. So they are trying to get you enrolled, but they don't always do the best at matching you up.
And Jess and Naomi, do you all have anything you'd like to add?
I always, when I talk to patients within a nurse visit, I will always say, if research is something that you're interested in, let me know. We try to keep tabs on what VCU studies are, UVA studies are. We have some studies at the VA as well. And then, clinicaltrials.gov is always a Michael J. Fox Foundation. So I can't say a lot of our patients are into research, but, I always try to mention it. And now I mention research and advocacy because I found that people are interested in advocacy maybe more than research. And I feel like, you take your diagnosis and what you're going through and you kind of make what you want with it. And I think some people really find a lot of joy in giving back, whether it's research or advocacy. So I always try to throw that out there as well as advocacy.
Exactly. Because the voice is just as important as participating in the clinical trials.
And then I would throw out, PD Avengers. I think that's one of the bigger ones. And what was I going to say? I'm pregnant, so I have baby brain. I'm so sorry.
Congratulations.
My brain is gone. I don't know. Y'all wouldn't have asked me on this panel if you know. I would be so silly. Yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. But anyway, advocacy, definitely, getting involved with anyone and everyone.
I would say APDA, we do have a page for clinical trials that are ongoing. I'm happy to put that in the chat as well. But sometimes I just refer people to Michael J. Fox, VCU, and if anyone or any other organizations has any clinical trials that they would like to put in our newsletter, we do that and we're able to advertise it on our newsletter. So in terms of that, so.
Great. Thanks, Naomi. Appreciate that. We've talked briefly about virtual and in-person, and I wanted to give you all an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit more about things that you do virtually and things, or telemedicine as well with the in-person meetings. So it's kind of vague question, but I'm kind of trying to give folks an opportunity to hear, since we've had this revolution in these last few years. Do you want to talk briefly about, virtual offerings versus in-person offerings, whether it be exercise or support group or any of those?
Yeah, so I can start. So all our clinical operations can be a virtual visit. So you can do a virtual home visit for PT, OT, speech, as well as to see your neurologist. And I think always having at least one virtual visit is a good help for your clinical team. They get to see you in your environment and what's important to you and what might be going on to make things a little better for you or complicate you. Research is almost never virtual unless it's a study that has built that in. And most of our studies have built in an option for virtual in the case of a pandemic, but they really don't want to break that out because we're on investigational drugs and you really want your patients to be able to come in so that you can see them, collect lab work, and just make sure that they're okay. We used to have our support group that was virtual during the pandemic, but we do a ladies only support group meeting and they really wanted the social interaction of being together. And so we are back and being together. And we decided that it was a roadblock to actually have a dual meeting where some people were virtual and some people were in the room. It just didn't work for them. So we don't do that virtually anymore, but it's not it might be something that we come back to later because it really does help people who can't get to the clinic to have a meeting.
Great.
Our educational options used to be virtual during the pandemic and we went back to in-person just for that camaraderie.
Great. Thank you. And Jess, you said there's so many offerings that are at the PADRECC that are virtual.
Yeah, all of our visits with the doctors, nurses, PT, OT, speech, assistive technology, social worker, palliative. We don't do neuropsych, I don't think, in person, but vision rehab, and all of our team can do virtual. Pelvic floor, not all of them, I think, can be pelvic floor, but some of them. Dietitian, I mean, everything we do virtual, and we just try to just make ourselves available because it is hard to get them in and park and find what floor you're on, and it's a lot. So we do virtual support groups. We have started doing some in-person things, some fairs, and that little crafting group that I'm putting together, and we're starting to do some rec therapy partnerships. So we'll have some in-person events. I think we're thinking about getting a bus, like a tacky light tour bus. Our patients love it. We want to get them together. People need to be together. But I think virtual is just wonderful too. So it's whichever one you can make it to, we try to provide. So
you have a young onset group for veterans
so we have a veteran support group that's open to non-veterans, and it's a speaker series, and that's all virtual. And then we have a caregivers for veterans support group that's virtual, and then we have a early onset group. I love the early onset group. They're funny. They make me laugh. They're a good group. So that's been a neat experience starting that one this past year. So.
And you also are looking to do a virtual Lego group.
Oh yeah, so we have a virtual Lego group. The problem is we ordered all these Legos at the end of the fiscal year. And it was just like, let's spend all this money or we lose it. And we ordered all these orders, like millions of different orders. And now we're in the process of like, where's our orders? We're trying to go through all of the invoices. And so as soon as we gather the Legos that we ordered, we will start a virtual group. I have like a list of, I think, at least 6 or 7 veterans, and we're just gonna do some Lego challenges. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's gonna be fun.
Sounds
great. I don't know what I'm doing, but we'll just try. We'll try to bring everyone together. And sometimes you just have to try. I don't know.
Well, I think that theme has been kind of reoccurring as we were talking today about, trying different types of exercising, trying different support groups, trying, the rehab. You have to, although it's it can sometimes be hard when you're living with Parkinson's or caring for someone with Parkinson's to get the initiation started to venture out to do one thing. But once you get going, try. There's no harm in saying, well, that really didn't interest me, but don't stop. Keep going. You really need to keep trying new things.
I've had people say that that they didn't feel like coming today. They really weren't having a good day, and they come and they're just like, oh my God, I'm so glad I came. Y'all cheered me up. This is what I needed. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. Sorry, Carl.
That's exactly what you hear in improv. I didn't want to be here today, but then by the end of the improv class, I'm so glad I came. It was so much fun. We had a great time. Thank you. But also, I want to say, Parkinson's. It's exactly that. You have to think outside the box. This is not a disease that's conventional for everybody, and it's different things for different folks. Just like speak out works for me. Well, LSVT was not effective for me. The board of Parkinson's Voice Project for a long time, and I've seen great benefit, not just for myself, but for many more people. And I think speak out is really something that everyone needs to implement into their program. Make it available to
But Carl, you tried so many different therapies, and then you finally found the one that works for you. I think that's a testament to not giving up, or even you continuing to advocate for yourself.
Well, I have longevity.
Another thing we have to remember as community leaders is it's not the numbers. I think everybody's like, well, how many people came to support group? You can't get caught up in the numbers, because it's about the quality that's happening when you're in the group. So you could have a couple people on, and you could really just touch on one person that you really captivated that one person, and it was worth it.
Exactly.
So I think we have to look away from having to have these giant numbers.
I always say one person.
Amen.
One person makes a support group.
Yep, I see Naomi's head shaking too.
Oh yes, no, I was definitely agreeing, and I just wanted to kind of talk about programs as well. So all of our events are either virtual or in person. For support groups, when people connect with us, sometimes they want a virtual support group, and we'll connect them on that route geographically. If they're looking for in-person support group, we're able to connect them geographically as well. APDA does have signature programs that we do. We do a webinar that we do every other month. We also have education days for those who aren't interested in a webinar, more of that in-personal, touch and meeting with doctors and whatnot. So we offer education days as well. We are doing an education day this Thursday at McLeod, Virginia, on medication management, led by a movement disorder specialist. So I'll plug that in the chat. But we have ongoing virtual and in-person events for those who want a little bit of both, or may not have may not want to leave the house, or just looking to just sign on online. So
absolutely, Naomi. Yeah, I think we're going to find out this having opportunities in both realms I don't know, live and virtual, is where people really can make the choice what works for them. I'm glad you said that. Susan, anything to add regarding virtual or in person?
I don't think so, really. Our regular, can you believe it? Our regular support group, of course, is in person. We never tried the combination of Zoom and in person, because I'm technically challenged. But, and I think Ginger was right that it's not always that satisfying. But no, we have our in-person meeting, and then the two support groups, which one is virtual and one is in person.
Right. I do want to read a comment that William put in the chat, just to have it kind of recorded, because although we're recording this for YouTube and we'll post it, you can't see the comments in the chat, which is that William said he just participated in a 10-session care partner class or training from the Davis Finney Foundation, which is one of the national organizations that have, excellent resources that are virtual and online and available for free for the most part. And he said he was usually skeptical of these, but it was great, and it's recorded and available on their website. So we'll make sure that we put that link into the follow-up for this, and also for the YouTube video. We'll put that in the description so people can find it. And yes, Naomi, I hope the event in McLean on Thursday is awesome. We did put that in our newsletter, and I know many of the other folks on the panel have done that too, to get people to know that in-person event is going to have a doctor speaking, and it looks like a great educational event. Arlene, you came off mute. Did you have a question for the panel today?
I don't have a question for the panel. I have a comment for you, and that's that even though I'm on the board, the amount of work that you did to put together this panel to provide good, solid information. When Parkinson's started to become a sexy disease and got a lot of publicity, and all of a sudden, everybody in God's green earth was deciding they knew the fix, and send some money and we'll send you a piece of paper with instructions on how to cure or whatever. And when people are so focused that they can't separate themselves out, they tend to believe those scams. And to provide everybody with good, reliable resources that they can draw on with confidence. And you did a great job. That's all.
Oh, that's not me. Thank you. You're very sweet to say that, but I think it's our panelists and the willingness to cooperate and network with each other. I think that's, as Carl mentioned earlier, that really is a refreshing change that we've had in the last, I would say 10 to 15 years. I'm dating myself tremendously, but I think it's, a lot of the organizations represented here, and some that aren't on the call, because we can't get them all on the screen, are really the ones that truly have fostered that communication and outreach spirit. And I think as a closing comment, that's a great place for us. We only have a few minutes left before we end, but I was going to invite our panelists to have a closing comment if they would like to, leave us one tidbit before we close this out. So I'm going to toss it out. Who would like to go first?
Susan will.
I counted on it.
No, one thing, and the rest of the panel who's knowledgeable can tell me if this is still accurate. I'm a little behind the curve, but generally when I'm telling people to reach out to look on the websites and so forth, I tell them that they need to look more at .org, .gov, or .edu rather than .com. As I tell them, I could even have a .com website. You don't necessarily want to listen to what I have to say. So I feel like you all can confirm or deny, but I think that those are generally more reliable web sources to refer people to. That's it. And thanks for letting me be here.
Thank you, Susan. Ginger, go ahead.
I would agree with what Susan said. I'll piggyback off of that, but I would also encourage everybody to ask for what they want. So if you're going somewhere and you want to know if they have a support group, ask for it. If they say no, say, could we get one? But if you don't ask for what you need, we can't guess what you need. And so just ask for what you want and see if somebody can help you get it.
Excellent, Ginger. Thank you. Jess, Naomi. Okay, it's a race to the finish. Which one?
I want to plug. I'm working with PMD Alliance in February in Richmond to do I think they're called the InSync. We're gonna do an InSync in Richmond, and it's for support group leaders, community leaders. We'll have some, lots of resources there. So I'm inviting everyone to Richmond.
Is that for support group rather than a general population thing? Is it more of a training thing for?
Yeah, so it'll be like training for support group leaders and community leaders.
And you'll be sending us information about that.
I will. It's the process of getting a city permit in Richmond to do an event. It's been fun. So we're still waiting. So that's why I haven't started advertising yet, but I guess by word of mouth, here we go.
When do you anticipate going out on maternity leave?
Oh, I'm not till like May. So
good. You've got plenty of time. Yeah.
I've got a while of the baby brain. Sorry.
Yeah.
Naomi, you're last but not least.
First, I want to thank Angela and just the whole PSN for inviting us to be here today and creating this platform for all of us to just talk about, collaboration and just what we have to offer. But I just want to say that, APDA, we're always here, to support you. Please feel free to come to any of our programs, any of our events, even if it's not in the same area, we welcome you. I'll leave I'm sure there'll be a follow-up email. So if there's anything that we can do to support you, we're always here. If I don't have the answers, I'm sure that we have other colleagues in the area who are happy to help and be here. So thank you for creating this platform. And we would love to see you at some of our events, whether that's support groups, education days, webinars, we're always here. So.
Thank you, Naomi. That was so well said. And I really think I'm going to throw an idea out is maybe we should do this on a annual basis. At least it would give us an opportunity to all kind of check in and share information and find out what new things are going on and being offered by all of your organizations, including Margaret and some of the others who didn't have on the panel today. But there are excellent resources available. So, the more we can get the word out, the better off we're serving our community. So with all that said, thank you all for your time today. I know it's very valuable and you have a lot of things going on. And Nancy, I'm going to throw it to you to close us out.
Well, I also want to thank everyone for coming and just throw out our program for tomorrow, which is an exclusive PSN Watch and Discuss recording we did with Dr. Sarah Langelman at VCU's Parkinson's and Movement Disorder Center. And it's talking about lifestyle changes that can have healthy impacts for those living with Parkinson's. So if anybody's interested, please feel free to join us. If you know anyone else who's interested, as with all programs we have, we welcome everybody. So it'll be at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, 10 to 11:30. And we look forward to hopefully some of you joining us then. And I want to thank again our panel for coming. It's been a great learning experience for me. I was busy taking notes. So thank you all so much.